Joining us now is the head coach for the Miami Dolphins. Now, we all know that the Miami Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in a long time, but in 2 years, this guy has taken them to back-to-back playoff appearances. Is this the year that they break through? We believe so because his hair looks more sweet than it has ever looked. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach McDaniel.
Yeah, Coach!
How are you, Coach?
I'm doing great. I think this would be a good time to let you guys know that it's not my actual hair, it's a wig.
Oh, okay. I've noticed because every time you stepped up to the press conference, this particular training camp, we got a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more sauce up there. We're growing it, you know what I mean? We're growing it out. I like it. Are we going full? Are we going to take this wig all the way? Maybe by the end of the year, playoff hair?
You know, there's no telling. You know, as well as anybody, like when you're a girl dad.
Oh yeah.
Like not all the decisions that you have in life are up to you. So. You know, when she says, "Daddy, I like your hair," I keep that consistent. She'll eventually say, "Daddy, cut your hair," and I'll probably do it then.
Yeah, it's a smart play. We got a new boss. I understand that. And thank you for knowing that I have a daughter. That's very cool of you to be able to keep up. Let's talk about your life, family, and being a head coach in the NFL. Last time we spoke to you, you were an undefeated head coach. You remember?
Yeah.
Everybody was like, hey.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome. You remember that? Everybody was
yeah.
Undefeated. Now, you're a guy who's won. Go ahead. You looked a little.
No, I feel like we had the conversation we're discussing in a different building.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, I almost feel like this was like you know, it's like any sport that is pre-television contract. This was back in the, you know, your humble days.
No, our last office was pretty sick too. Let's talk. You know, it was pretty.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet too. This is the Thunderdome though, Coach. We need to make you need to make a visit whenever you're in town. If you ever stop by the Thunderdome, took a church, changed it into a studio. Too much space, but always a great time. Welcome to the Thunderdome.
Wow.
Welcome to the Thunderdome.
That's phenomenal.
Thank you.
That's phenomenal to unpack.
Yeah.
No, life has changed since then, though, for sure. I have won games, not all, that I've coached in. I think the Miami Dolphins organization is in a cool place where there's been some established relevance, but you know, I think that is old hat and old news for a lot of the players. So we're hungry for more in 2024.
Yeah, but you haven't you haven't changed at all. You know, it seems like you haven't changed at all. Do you feel that way? Because I remember whenever we first talked to you, and I think it's probably how everybody responded to you, is like, oh, I don't think we've ever seen a head coach with this type of personality. Obviously, incredibly smart. We all know your Ivy League background and big brain and what you do with the offense. But the way yeah, you got a big ass. Under that long ass hair, you got a big ass brain.
Huge.
We know that. But the way you deliver, the way you talk, we all were excited to see how you would relate to the locker room and how it would translate to the players. Feels like you have not changed and had the massive success. Have you felt that, or have you had to adjust the way you do things from day one? Obviously, a little bit of evolution, or have you kind of come in and been ready for the gig since day one?
Well, I think it's very important, especially when you're really pushing everyone around you, whether it's players or the coaching staff. You're pushing them to improve and to continually get better. I think it's in the nature of the way I see the business and my role. I think there's definitely been things that, you know, I learn along the way, having, you know, it being my first rep at it. But in terms of, like, you know, the person, you know, I think take it or leave it. I've never fancied myself as like a chameleon to adapt my personality. I think so much of what I ask every person that works with me to invest and trust in me, you know, I think it's in the bylaws of my job to give them, you know, myself and be vulnerable when those times are necessary. You know, just be, you know, that honest version of yourself, because that's, to me, what is owed to all the people that you're asking to trust.
Players are going to
So I
say,
haven't really changed, but I have.
yeah, well, I understand you probably have changed and tightened some things up, but you maintaining who you are is a big part of your players buying in, because the locker room can tell if somebody's being fake or if they're being real. And you've seemingly been very real from the jump about it all, including the most important position, Tua. And that started like literally, I think, the day that you were signed as the head coach. Whenever you're flying on the plane, you called Tua. We had a conversation about, hey, let's take advantage of everything Tua has that is great. Instead of knocking him down for the things that he doesn't have, which seemingly was the way Tua's career was going before you got there. The accuracy was the conversation. Then the arm strength. Then the jiu-jitsu. But whenever we start mixing all those things that he is great out, he has turned into one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Seeing his development, seeing his growth, seeing him get paid, how proud of you are of him, and what do you see and expect for him from this season?
I'm absolutely I'm over the moon for him writing history as he has, so that that bold proclamation that history has done service to, it looks it's debilitatingly undercutting if he doesn't do everything that he needs to do to really evolve as a man and as a player. And then as well as guys signing up to be on the front end of the vision, and his teammates decided before it was popular to truly believe in him as well. So there's a whole to watch that mature is absolutely probably second only to bringing this organization a Super Bowl. I think because that's what it's about. You're trying to positively impact people, and for the way I look at it is I would hope that every day I try to earn the fact to earn the role, because I think if there's somebody else better equipped, they should have the job. I think players deserve your absolute best, and it's amazing what in healthy relationships, from teammate to teammate to teammate to coach, how things can really evolve and people can grow, and I think that's the cool thing about Tua is he's always evolving, and this I really can relate to someone assuming they know exactly what you are, only to attempt to show them a different version.
Well, now he's the thinner, more jacked version.
That's right.
And you almost said the word culture. You seemingly stayed away from. I heard call almost come out there whenever you're talking about the. Do you try to stay away from that, or is that was basically what you were just describing right there? It felt like.
Yeah, I think it's culture is a unique blend of having a philosophy and principles, but then really it comes down to the people that you have. Like I can say till I'm blue in the face that I want a culture of X, Y, or Z, but to really create a culture, you need driven people that are signing up to buy into what that is. And, I think there's a lot of power in focusing, really an easy way to explain it is I see everything as an opportunity cost. So if you're spending time thinking about one thing, you are not spending time doing something else. And when you're living in a world where you're trying to figure out what someone wants you to be like, I think that's destructive to the ultimate goal of that everyone's trying to achieve. So I think to be your best self, you have to be yourself. I kind of leave it at that, and then try to set the tonality for people to follow in terms of how you approach football. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I say or what I do if I don't have the right people, not only to echo the message from the coaching staff, but then the players to choose to buy in and maybe put forth a extra effort and go the extra yard more than they're familiar with.
Well, I think whenever you have success, it's easier for everybody to buy in, right? Because they see like, hey, if we buy in,
Yes.
we're going to have success. Last year, there was a time where there was no team in the NFL that was hotter than Miami Dolphins. I mean, you guys hung 70 on the Denver Broncos, and they were talking about people saying the Walmart family is going to sell the Broncos because of what the Miami Dolphins just did. Yeah, it was your offense that became that part of the conversation, in the buy-in, in the success, in the belief, in the electricity that was this Miami Dolphins team. Whenever you see everybody humming the way they were there for a while last season, now obviously negative 20-degree weather is going to affect everybody, and that has been thrown in your face, and I assume you will have a rebuttal to that at some sort in this particular answer. But whenever you see what your team could be last year, how promising is that? Do you harp on that to the team? Like, hey, if we get back to playing like this, if we play like this, we can beat everybody. Like, whenever you have that type of run last year, is that something that's beneficial to the entire team, I assume, and to the entire organization? And how does that become every single day now?
No, so I think to start out, when I'm talking to the team and just when I think about it on a whole, you have to separate the fact that the 2024 Dolphins, I think 40% of the roster was, or 40% of last year's roster is still here in 2024.
Oh,
so understanding that, and that's pretty much around the league, you're right around 50 to 40% of retention in this day and age of the league. So understanding that, there are absolutely tremendous lessons that you can take that 40% of your roster got to experience live speed from that season, and I think that's very valuable when you're applying it to this season, because just like you can't carry the residuals of you win a Super Bowl last year, you can't carry that point differential margin into this year. Everything starts anew with a new team. But I think absolutely you had live speed examples of how magnetic, or there's just the fan base and the organization, and how it's like lighting a match with the excitement of a fan base that's been through some stuff, and organizations that's been through some stuff. So you can feel that, and you can feel how much doing half or three quarters or all the way to week 17 to it's all awesome, but there's still the longevity of the journey and where you have to be in your finest moments. It would be impossible not to take those lessons and I apply them all the time. I learned a ton. I know a lot of the players did, and the bottom line is it is a very important lesson for every NFL player to learn that hype exists and is temporary. How fleeting, over embellishment or people, the narratives and people loving you and saying you're going to win the Super Bowl or whatever, how fleeting that is, and how little it matters when you have the experience of the up and down of the season. I think it's very beneficial for this team to have so many people that had that lesson to really understand why it's all important. You can say what you want about negative whatever. Why were we playing in that game? Okay, so then how does that? How do we learn from that for this season, and how can we truly make sure that we cross our T's and dot our I's from a preparation standpoint? And how do we just literally leave it out on the football field, knowing that everything matters, knowing that a loss that you have in October or November that you may just chalk up to, okay, that's another game. Well, that could be the difference in you having your helmet crack in in sub-zero weather and sweating with a tank top after the game because you're at home. You know, like the immensity of how important everything is in our process. I think guys trusted me when I said how it all matters, but there's nothing more valuable than learning it firsthand. And we hope to carry those learning lessons this season.
I love that, because if you don't win your last game, boy, what a failed year.
Yep.
You know, and that's just kind of, you talked about the overhype and over-embellishment of being great, fleeting. It's like, yeah, if you lose your last game, it's like, what? That team was fake. That team, like, that is the the story that goes.
Case in point, I think if there would be a game where we would, on the final drive, have the potential to kick a field goal for 73 points, I don't think I would have to explain my rationale about why you don't chase points in week 3 for no reason to a lot of the players. I think they would. Now it makes a little more sense in hindsight, and I think that they'd probably be getting pissed at me if I tried to send a field goal kicker out in a scenario like that moving forward, because we have bigger fish to fry.
Let's talk about the bigger fish to fry there, and you just chit-chatted about it a little bit. You talked about we need to take care of the little things more throughout the year so that we have that as a home game. Do you think anybody would have been able to win that game at negative? I mean, like, all odds were stacked against you in that game. You knew it too, right? With the way your offense is. Coming from Miami, it's 85 degrees down there, and then you go get dropped in. In the media, obviously, we're talking all week, let's see how these Florida boys do. Let's see how these Florida boys do in this entire thing. Is there any other takeaways from that game? Because my big takeaway was, after you guys lost in the locker room, we saw some of your speech. Emotional group, tight group.
Yeah.
Seemed like a tight-knit group. What everybody was expecting from your team to blow up and implode did not happen at all. Everybody remained bought in. Is that your takeaway from that game, or what is the big takeaway you think from the way the season ended?
I think the takeaway is how consistent you have to be over a long period of time to be in a situation where you feel like I think everyone understands on our team that, in football, the ball is oblong and it's an odd shape. Anything can happen. But to win that game, it was an incredibly tough task. That a lot of things you have to hit on a lot of cylinders that are tough to hit on in football. It's definitely not impossible, but you don't want I think the overall takeaway is, if you don't like your season to be left up to the outcome of a game in that climate, don't have the game be in that climate.
That's awesome. I like that. That's the motivating factor.
I think that's kind of where guys are at. Is all right, because nobody feels sorry for you. We made our own bed. That it wasn't that cold in Miami.
Ever. Period. I like that your team, nobody did this. I think that was a cool thing. With how many personalities and obviously how big and overhyped you talked about the team was, whenever you guys lost, there was no blame. It was a lot of this, actually. Like Tyreek said, man, I got cooked there. Like, there was a lot of ownership, which, going back to the word culture, you probably have to feel good about. Now, you got some new pieces. You talked about 40% player return. How about on the coach's side? D-Butt, massissive Dolphins fan, has a question for you.
Lifelong Dolphin, and I know I'm an asshole, but I wanted you to score that 73 points. But, hey, shout out to you. Appreciate you, man. We know you on the offensive side of the ball, a bunch of weapons. Tua's there. He's got his money. Obviously, Tyreek, Waddle, and the rest of the crew out there. On the defensive side, I think on the third defensive coordinator now. Love Anthony Weaver. Love the move, especially being a D-line savant like he is. What was it about Anthony Weaver, and how have the guys in the locker room been kind of taken to him? I know it's a lot of young guys in there, Chop kind of in the mix. You got Javon in the back end, but how have they been taken to Coach Weaver so far?
No, so it's been a really cool process. I think what was unique about the whole the whole process in general is, I think, I think everybody knows you don't want to do that. You don't want to change or have change. You'd love to have some consistency in coaching, in coaches, because it's a relationship business. So when I approached it this time, I separated football from person. And I first started with just knowing, at this point in time, I have my fundamental beliefs that I'm not willing to waver on, and knowing the connectivity that I was going to necessitate. I think I went through and had a group of people that I wanted to talk to because of who they were as people. And then going through that process, as I interviewed every candidate, I took in mind, that's when I attacked the schematic portion of it. And when I tell you that the synergy between both the human being, the leader, and what I was looking for schematically, it couldn't have been a more perfect fit. And you know what? Every time that the great news is every time Anthony Weaver succeeds, I feel like I'm really right. No, he does a great. That's what it's about, though. You're in charge. Like, you want. I think the players have done an outstanding job of taking the time to open their mind and learn a very complex style of defense that they're owning now as their own, and keeping their mind open to who Anthony Weaver was. And then Anthony Weaver has done a phenomenal job really curating those relationships, getting guys on the same page, having taking pride in what they do collectively as a group in a selfless manner, and then just being consistent each and every day with his thirst for reaching these guys and maxing these guys out. It's a exciting time, because I see guys from the coaching staff and the players pushing each other to new lengths, new challenges in the meeting room, new challenges on the field, and I think that serves us all for the better.
How has training camp been? Training camp's been good? You feel like the buzz, the energy, everything, buy-in from day one has been great for the team?
It's been my favorite training camp by the thing that I measure, that I keep, that I hold as most valuable from a coach's perspective, and that's our tape. That what we're putting on, the way we are connected and developing our technique and fundamentals, the intensity with which everyone is attacking practice, the competitiveness, and that fine line of being able to be super competitive but not crossing the line so that we don't protect the team. I think I've really enjoyed this training camp from a football standpoint, because I think it's high level competition, and there's three phases of football that are throwing out their unique complexities. That's making it a challenge for everybody.
Hell yeah! Hey, third year in this thing. Hey, come on now.
Yeah. Let's go.
Come on. You had so much success. You had so much success so quickly, and by success I mean just being yourself, being different than any head coach we've ever seen, team buying in, hard knocks in season, getting a chance to buy in, have success, bang, bang, bang. Only third year down there. That is you've done a good job down there.
Let's go,
New hair.
Coach.
Yeah, and that's Gumpy back there, who obviously has a question for you in a matter of moments. But let's talk. Yeah. Oh yeah, Gumpy's excited. Gumpy has been living and dying with you guys there. That Jalen Phillips news was big deal for him yesterday. So thank you for doing that. Obviously, we'll get to Gumps in a second, but let's talk about you.
The reason I did it.
For Gumps?
Thank you, Coach.
Wow.
That's big.
Good guy. Good guy.
Good coach.
There was a couple times where Gump was doing one of these,
Oh,
Coach.
yeah.
I just want to let you know that. He was, he was. Yeah, I just want to let you
Top turnbuckle?
Yeah, building.
Yeah.
But yeah, also.
Okay.
Yeah, top turnbuckle.
That's what I said. I'm an optimist.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, he was
Me
going to
too, Coach.
He was going to
Always.
swan
Yeah,
talk.
always
God,
optimistic.
he is
That's
not
what they
the
say
optimist.
about me all the time.
Yeah,
brother.
he is not the optimist, but boy, he is behind you 100% at all times. Well, if this is what Coach thinks is the right move, Gumps,
Yes.
and then he just, I guess. Let's talk about you though, and you're that's literally, yeah. He's not the only one, I assume. Ty has a question for you though about you.
Yeah, Coach, it seems like whenever someone gets hired from the Shanahan or McVay tree, like immediately, whether it's the media or anyone, they put that, offensive guru or wonderkin moniker on him. And some guys live up to it, some guys don't. Obviously, your offense was amazing last year. But how much more comfortable or confident do you feel now calling plays? And, have you learned anything like, oh, this is what we need to do to be more successful? Like, for instance, was it last year when you were just like, hey, if I send Tyreek and Waddle in motion constantly and just always have those guys moving, then no one's going to be able to guard us? Or what has that process been like calling plays?
No, so I've spent my a good portion of my career preparing to call plays, but the good news is the first time doing it and then the second time doing it, I'm I think on the horizon there's improvement to be had for sure. As prepared as I was, there's so much that you learn with the different complexities of an NFL game, even from practice, just calling plays is much more natural to me with a ton of reps. Imagine that. So, and then I think what's been cool is, I think the first training camp we had in 2022, we tried our first timing motion play pass route with Tyreek. And we ended up running it against the Patriots in week 1. But like that, and where we've evolved, it's player driven for sure. We have unique players with unique skill sets, so that, and really the whole group is kind of attacks things with, a new thing is a challenge. It's not a fear. So constantly tailoring the offense to the specific individuals that we have playing for us. It's always evolving. I get better at that with time, and the connectivity between me and the coaching staff and our ability to get the right ideas out there, that evolves as well. So I'm not getting worse at doing my job with these two years have I'd like to think I was prepared for them, but they were my first 2 years.
The Tua stuff from Hard Knocks with all the motions. Remember that, where I forget, it's all coming back to me now as you're talking about the timing motion with, hey, Tyreek just said he could beat Noah Lyles in a race. We all agree that he could.
For sure.
Right? We all agree.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I've seen him on a field, nobody can touch him.
Exactly.
With or without COVID?
Give Noah Lyles COVID.
Okay.
Yep.
The COVID he had, though, the one that just disappears immediately
right.
afterwards.
The
so
bronze
have a
COVID.
good time. Yeah, the bronze COVID. The bronze COVID that he gets out there. Let's make sure Tyreek does not have COVID. Let's do this in Miami, though. This needs to be down in Miami.
Okay.
And then when you watch him move and you do because part of Tua's thing is having to memorize everybody that has to move and the perfect timing that they have to move as well, while also watching the play clock and trying to figure out what the defense is doing. So in between the years, it's crazy. And I know the trust between you two was built up over time. And there was a lot of times during Hard Knocks where you're like, hey, you're going to mess this up. Like, this is how this is going to go. And Tua had to just kind of battle through and get to the point. But whenever you see Tyreek do something or Waddle, but more specifically, let's talk about Tyreek before we get to Jalen Waddle. When you see a move, it's just different. Everybody that plays against him says, hey, on film, you can see it. And you're like, wow, this guy's fast. But against me, he's not going to be that fast. And then all of a sudden,
Play him off a little bit.
Yeah, against me, he's not going to be that fast. And then you see it, you're like, holy shit. this is different. For you, that has to be so exciting whenever you talk about the creativity you can get with it and how nobody on a football field, maybe nobody on earth, including Noah Lyles, can touch that guy. That has to be quite a dream scenario for a play designer, play caller in the NFL, I would assume.
Yeah, no, you'd feel pretty guilty and question your chosen profession if you didn't have reasons to feel ambition and be motivated in a scenario where guys are willing and able to try stuff that you haven't seen before. I think that the evolution of how this is Tua's primary language now offensively. It's the longest he's ever been in a system, and when we can have multiple motions on one play or moving parts, and you can see him visually piece it together. So he's playing the game within, this high pre-snap movement offense. And I think the connectivity between, Tyreek and Tua, because the way they really attack practice as competitors and really trying to be great, they get some live speed timing that, I think over time it's proven for defenders that they have a hard time keeping up with it because it's that ironed out. So I think, everything they're doing is a result of what they're good at, plus investment to make it orchestrated in a way that it makes it really hard for even the perfect coverage to defend. So yeah, it is a football blessing to be able to go to work in a scenario like that, for sure.
Well, the coach with the good shoes and the good hair now obviously puts them in a good situation as well.
Top ranked player in the league.
What's that?
Number one player in the league.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Going for 2,000 yards, gets injured though.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. Led the NFL in pre-snap motions. Obviously, defense coordinators are just like, yeah, whatever. We'll just keep an eye on that fucking one. Then there's this fucking one. And then there's the, it's just like, what a weapon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That is, speaking of weapons, there is one that is no longer in the AFC East or the NFL. Connor has a question for you.
Yeah, Coach, in the realm of scoring 73 points, I got a stat for you that doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. And to be completely transparent, I have no idea if this is even true, but I believe you are the only coach in the history of the NFL to coach multiple seasons in the same division as Bill Belichick and never lose to him. So hashtag stat that. Mm-hmm. So hats off to you. That's pretty sweet. Hang the banner. Doesn't really mean shit, but still kind of something you can lay down at night and be like, hey, I never lost to Bill Belichick. Suck it. With that being said.
What's that?
I mean, I guess you'd have to specify never lost with Tua as the start. We lost a game Tua didn't play in on the road in 22.
Teddy Two Gloves like a hell.
This guy can't beat Belichick. Okay.
Man, redact everything I just said then.
Redaction.
No. Like most of what you said, and I think it is a hilarious stat because if we put, screen by screen, a list of accomplishments in said job, Mike McDaniel versus Bill Belichick, I think, mine would be this big and his would be a plethora. So if I can have one win that has an asterisk, I'll take it.
Okay, well, you got it.
Yeah.
You got it. This is a Patriot fan.
Yeah, congratulations. And plus, what have you done for me lately anyways? But with that being said, have you visualized yet going up to New England and looking across the field and not seeing Bill? And did you really think about, like, hey, maybe I do reach out to him like Kyle Shanahan did and just see if he wants to come and be the ball boy or do anything for me this season because he's not coaching?
Yeah, Miami retirement.
Yeah. It's a nice
well, it's really, I think it speaks to like the crater like impact that this one coach had on the National Football League. I can't picture him not there, and I guarantee like every person the first time they go to Gillette, that's gonna be on their mind at some point in time. I know it will be on mine. So I think that speaks to, really the massive impact that he's had on the National Football League, just to be that pillar. I think, if he just wants to sign an autograph for me, I'll be pumped about that. I don't need necessarily for him to come, put in sweat equity for the Dolphins, just maybe shoot me some tutelage on how to survive in this game in 3 different decades, all the while putting forth scheme that people can't copy. I mean, people don't realize that how unbelievable of a defensive mind this guy was. There's games that we so happen to win. 2 in particular, some of the best defensive game plans I've ever gone against. So whatever he wants to do, if he wants to come high five me, I think I'd be pumped because maybe he can rub off some of that magical spirit on me.
Yeah, osmosis maybe there with the 49 years in the NFL, I think, coaching. Now, obviously, crazy. He's out of Washington. He's at the University of Washington right now. Him, Pete Carroll, Michael Lombardi, I forget who else. They're all just doing training camp at the Washington Huskies right now.
You're just loving ball. Just loving ball.
Just no whistle, though.
Yeah.
Nope.
Jed Fish has the whistle. He doesn't have a whistle, but he's just moseying around. Can't help it. Has to be in a training camp right now. And the Washington team just has them. That's unfair. It feels like that's a bit unfair.
Yeah.
But, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah. That's like insider trading or something.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it is what that is. Yeah.
That doesn't really make sense, but yeah.
Yeah, we love it. All right, last question here comes from a man who idolizes you. You need to know that. Former ship painter, now just the greatest internet splunker in the history of the internet. Gumpy has a question for you.
Yeah, Coach, Jalen Wright out of Tennessee looked unbelievable on Friday night. How excited are you to just add another stud to that stable of running backs you got going on?
Well, if there's one thing that I've learned in the National Football League is the best way to make players their best is have a highly competitive situation. So I'm really excited for the entire room in general because, every time somebody makes a play, it kind of raises the standard and, raises the amount of detail and regard that, if you are on the field doing anything to give reason to keep you on the field, because there's a lot of guys that are capable to make plays. So overall, I just really like where that room is at, Jalen included. But from top to bottom, really the group is full of people that are NFL caliber playmakers that can and will do it this year.
Well, you've been able to do it with the running backs and your weapons and quarterback and offensive football in the NFL as a whole. Has been nothing short of remarkable. You are a whiz kid.
Truly.
An absolute whiz kid. And the fact that you spent this much time with us today, we are so thankful, man. We appreciate the hell out of you. Good luck the rest of the way.
Well, I really regard what you guys do, and I appreciate the time. And we'll just keep chopping wood so you're not just talking about how cool the program is, we're talking about how successful it is too.
Yeah, but being cool is cool.
Part of it.
Also successful.
Yeah, that's a good part of the success, I think,
But you can't stay cool for that long unless you're successful, so it's the same ends.
Damn right.
Yeah, you become lame quick.
Yeah.
If you don't have success, but you've had success. Now, granted, we've got to move that to the postseason.
That's right.
Let's have a home game.
Uh-huh.
Let's have a home game. Let's have sweet shoes all season. Let's have the capris rolled up. Let's have a hoodie on in 99-degree weather. Let's be the coolest group of people on earth, Coach. We appreciate the hell out of you, man.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, we agree with your daughter. Keep that hair going.
Yeah.
Yep. Need the flow.
Let that thing hang. Ladies and gentlemen, come
Long hair, I do care.
Well, you have to. And that's why you're a coach. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike McDaniel.